Hey y'all, Adam the Exacto Guru here, and this topic has been coming up a lot for me recently. Whether it's seeing some random post on Facebook, watching YouTube, or the media. Today, I'll be discussing genocide, and I hope you'll bear with me. Genocide is quite literally the single worst act that one group can advocate for or perpetrate against another group. The Canadian government defines genocide as the act or omission committed with intent to destroy, in whole or in part, an identifiable group of persons. With that in mind, remember that we now have multiple groups either advocating for or attempting to wage genocide on others. The instance of genocide which hits closest to home currently is that of the missing and murdered Indigenous women in Canada. For decades, First Nations women have been taken from their loved ones, never to be heard from again, with little to no investigation of a given incident done. The fact that protesters had to actually demand an investigation and were only granted an inquiry should speak to the level of federal involvement in allowing the status quo to continue. Our government has historically shown no desire to look into this in any meaningful way, to the point where Conservative candidate Andrew Scheer felt it prudent to debate the term genocide being used in connection with this. Next, we have a sect of Christianity rising out of the United States, making their voices heard on the issue of homosexuality, namely the New Independent Fundamentalist Baptists, or the NIFB. This group is led by numerous pastors of the Tommy McMurtry, who may or may not be sexually attracted to pumpkins, and Steven Anderson variety. You know, those hateful fucks who stand at their pulpits and demand violence towards homosexuals. This group, over the span of months, has sprung up over 30 new churches from which they can preach this hatred. While I agree with your right to practice any religion you want, you don't have the right to actively incite violence against others, for any reason. The fact that the Bible also backs up this rhetoric makes it harder for those of us speaking out against this hate to make a difference in the minds of those who do believe. This is why our society has made laws that diverge from the dogma of Yahweh. However, the sudden growth of this group should call into question how these people who follow the church actually think. The reason you need to question this is these people vote, and they vote in large numbers. They can actually change government policy, and have in the past. For a more direct example of ongoing genocide, let's look at the situation in Israel. There, the Jews have been slaughtering the Palestinians since they were installed there by the United Nations. The Israelis have trained operatives to weed out potential Palestinians living inside Jerusalem, calling them extremists to the general public with no evidence whatsoever of extremist behavior from a given individual. These are all actions geared to demonizing the other, to make being a Palestinian something considered evil. This is something they've been so successful at, even Donald Trump has been duped into thinking the Palestinians are wicked, frequently altering long-standing foreign policies in favor of the Israelis. That's right, in a war-torn nation where tensions are high, Donald Trump is making it clear that he thinks genocide is fine. I find it utterly disturbing that 75 years after World War II ended, we have forgotten what advocating for and committing genocide does to society. I don't like drawing comparisons to Hitler or the Nazis, but in this case it's fitting. In 1938, Hitler began enacting a plan to eradicate the Jews from Germany, and most of the world stood up and said, "Fuck no." Now we have multiple groups either actively or through omission moving towards the total eradication of people like Canadian First Nations, the GSRM community, and the Palestinians. I find myself often wondering what someone like my grandfather, who fought in World War II and came back unwilling to hear the Germans even called derogatory names, would think of the situation at hand. Was this the world that he, and people like him, fought to protect? I seriously doubt it. I'll spell it out for those who have doubts that these are examples of attempted genocide. If you advocate for violence and eradication of a group of people, even from a pulpit, if one group of people can't get crimes against them investigated properly, and are actively held back by the laws themselves, or if there is one group actively ending the lives of another group because of things like belief, sexuality, or race and racial circumstances, this is genocide. Let me say it one more time for the cheap seats. Genocide is the single most heinous, vile, and wicked crime one group of humans can commit against another. Also, to be clear, I'm not saying Tommy McMurtry is sexually attracted to pumpkins. I'm just saying we don't know for sure. Well, those are my thoughts, and if you've stuck with me this far, thank you so much. Please remember to like and subscribe. For now, I'm the Exacto Guru, reminding you to be excellent to each other.